Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. AITA for getting upset my BF wouldn't take me to the ER. My boyfriend, a 20-year-old man, and I, a 21-year-old woman, live with my parents in the same house. Recently, I've been suffering some quite bad UTI symptoms, and I went to a walk-in clinic with clear proof of a UTI 2 weeks ago. They sent me home after stating that I had tested negative for a UTI. It was a week later when I was awakened by terrible hip pain. I sobbed all day while lying on a heating pad. Upon waking up 2 days later, I was experiencing the worst stomach pain I'd ever had in my life. I begin to scream and call my mother's phone number. She orders me to call my boyfriend and instruct him to take me to either the nearest 7-minute minor hospital or a larger hospital 35 minutes away that can handle what is going on. Upon waking him up, he responds with, "Just sleep it off." Honestly, I'm in tears at this point. He says no and indicates that I'm overreacting, which I'm well known for doing, and that it's most likely nothing since the test came back positive. I feel as if I've been stabbed, and this is not the kind of suffering that I can bear at this point. In light of how horrible I was feeling, I'm comparing how I'm feeling right now to a potential bladder rupture. Finally, he agrees to take me, but only if I agree to let him sleep for an additional 2 hours. I am grateful. I might understand if it was a particularly inconvenient hour, but it was already 11:30 a.m., and he had gone to bed at 3 a.m. after a night spent playing video games. I explained that I can't wait that long and that I don't have anybody else at home who can take me to the appointment. In the process of rolling over, he returns to his original position. After an hour of the worst misery of my life, I decide to just suck it up and drive myself to the closest ER. I roused him once again and told him that I couldn't wait any longer and that I needed to get out of there immediately because there was something wrong. He snaps and adds, "Give him an hour longer," before lying down again and repeating the process. I storm out of the house in my car and drive about 2 blocks before realizing that I had forgotten my money and that I was in no condition to drive because I was in so much pain that I couldn't concentrate. I had forgotten my money and was in no condition to drive because I was in so much pain that I couldn't concentrate. When I arrive home, I fall next to him in bed, screaming in anguish with him. He argues that I have no right to be unhappy since I realize that it takes time for him to regain consciousness. I disagree. The most I could muster was, "Please take me to the one that is 7 minutes away because I'm scared." I tell him that I drove 2 hours to pick him up from the hospital at 3 o'clock in the morning on no sleep, and that I spent the whole summer assisting him in his recovery from his injuries, including cleaning and wiping him when he needed it. He continues to dispute with me until 2:30 p.m., when he eventually agrees to drive me to the hospital, which is just 7 minutes away. It was discovered that I had an advanced urinary tract infection, UTI, infection in my bladder and kidneys, and an infected kidney stone, among other things. Even though I felt terrible when I recalled my attitude that morning, I was in a great deal of pain. In reaction to his behavior, I recall saying things like, "Fine, just don't help then," and "You're being a jerk." AITA. Story 2. AITA for calling my friend App. My 25 female friend's 24 female marriage is in the midst of a painful divorce, and she needs my help, 27 female. For brevity's sake, let me say that it has been quite nasty and unpleasant. Her wife was having an extramarital affair with the next husband. My friend then started speaking with her future ex-husbands, exes and ex, confusing, I know, whom we will refer to as her new fling. My friend then began conversing with her future ex-wives, exes and ex, confusing, I know. She stays with B every night of the week. They are continuously under the influence of alcohol and driving. The appointments of people I've referred to my esthetician friend have been canceled on a regular basis. She has 5 dogs that are crated in her house at all times of the day and night, because she can't stand the thought of being trapped inside. She just comes in once a day to take them out, and then she leaves. The other night we went to a local bar with a party that included B and my friend, and we had a few drinks. B made the choice to go to this bar with his friends. We broke off and made plans to meet up with my friend and B at the location. The and a few of drinks were swiftly grabbed by us since we were the first ones to arrive. We'd been there for about 30 minutes when my buddy received a text message saying that they wouldn't let her girlfriend be in. Even though she is nearly 30 years old, she claims that they refused to let her in because they feared her ID was falsified. I immediately dismissed it as nonsense. It took numerous conversations with bartenders before I was successful in getting them to admit me, but they all stated it was the owner's responsibility and that there was nothing they could do. Later in the tale, the proprietor pointed directly at B and said that she was not permitted to enter, but that everyone else was permitted. They separated themselves from one another and went to a different tavern. Considering that we had already spent $50 on them, we decided to stick around and finish it. B had apparently been evicted from a bar earlier in the evening, and I was upset that we had gone there. Were there any other lounges we might have gone to that we missed? B wasn't telling the truth about what was going on, and I don't trust him. My hair was scheduled to be done the next day by a mutual friend of mine. She contacted me the next morning to tell me she needed to take the day off for mental health reasons. That's okay with me. As a result of this, I found that she had done a boudoir shoot and was traveling around with B. I'm sure there will be drinking and other recreational activities involved. Naturally, I grew upset and sent her a text message. Weekends are reserved for getting my hair done since I work throughout the week, which is problematic because she has a life of her own, and I can't expect her to drop everything to do my hair. It's just impossible to make appointments on both ends. I called her and told her that I would be able to locate another person to do my hair if she would like. The two of us get into a heated debate when she phones me. It was my responsibility to advise her that B is a habitual liar and that she was not a good match for her. This implies that she is making bad life choices as well as having a warped sense of priorities, that her creatures are in discomfort. She's losing clients as a result of this strange lady and her excessive drinking. It makes me feel bad for her since she is going through a lot right now, but I think she needed to hear this. Additionally, it felt good to get it out of my system. Ada. Story 3. Ada for calling my friend pathetic and a loser after his wife cheated on him. A little background. I've known this individual, let's call him Jim, since we were kids, and he comes from a very affluent family, but he's not a jerk about it. Jim has always been a quiet person. He met this female, let's call her Evil, EB for short, around 6 years ago. We were surprised at first that he was dating this lady. Jim isn't the most attractive man, and he'd admit that she'd be a solid 10/10 if it weren't for her terrible demeanor. Everyone in our buddy circle saw right through her and said, she's just with him for his money. But he appeared happy, so we were pleased for him. At first, she seemed pleasant, charming, clever, and truly into Jim, so I thought I was incorrect about her motives, and felt awful for condemning her so soon. They've been married for 2 years and are quite happy. That's when everything changed. She became cruel in an instant, talking down to you, belittling you, continuously making fun of you, making fun of Jim behind his back, telling one of our friends Jim has a small. We were taken aback since this was so out of character for her. Jim, too, transformed. He was shy at first, but after he broke out of his shell, he was one of the funniest guys I'd ever met. Not anymore. He seems miserable and lonely. We tried to speak to him about EB, that maybe she wasn't the one for him, but he wouldn't listen. She's amazing, he said. She's the finest thing that ever happened to me, and so on. This has been his life for the last 4 years, and he suddenly discovered she has been cheating on him since they were married. He supposedly walked in on them. She confessed to cheating the whole time. She stated she would not quit, and he should just live with it. When he informed us, I nearly couldn't believe it. We tried for 2 weeks to get him to divorce her, but he refused. I was angry at her for cheating and angry at him for not leaving. Until one day, after a conversation with him, I snapped. He stated something about feeling better about the situation overall. I said, why don't you quit being a loser and simply divorce this? You're pathetic. Why can't you see that she is just with you for your money and nothing else? I carried on for a little while longer, but I won't write at all. He walked away without saying anything. I attempted to be a supporting buddy at first, but I couldn't do it any longer. This was something he needed to hear. Half of our buddy group thought he needed tough love, while the other half thought I went too far. Now, I'd want to hear from everyone. Ada.